I'm good to go. If you want to. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Ladow. I am a communications consultant and the owner of Social Justice Media Services. And I'm really honored to be presenting for the Northeast Advocates Together project today. And this webinar was supported in part by a grant from the U.S. Administration for Community Living. So points of view or opinions do not, therefore, necessarily represent official Administration for Community Living policy. And today I'm going to be talking about how self-advocacy organizations can make the most out of Facebook. So let's get started. So first we're going to start with some Facebook basics because I've often found that people have varying amounts of knowledge when it comes to Facebook, and I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. So Facebook has a really strong cross-community, cross-generational presence, and what that essentially means is that you are just as likely to find your grandmother on there as you are to find a younger sibling on there. There are really no particular age limits for who can use Facebook once you hit, I believe, 13. And Facebook is a place where people from all different backgrounds come together and share their thoughts and opinions in one particular space. However, the largest demographic is older generations currently, but of course this doesn't mean the younger generations aren't on there. It just means that older generations have discovered that Facebook is a wonderful thing. And the primary uses of Facebook, some of which we will talk about as this presentation goes on, are sharing photos and articles and announcing events, and of course posting news and updates from your particular organization. So the first thing that I want to go over is the different types of pages that you can have on Facebook. So of course, when you make an account, what you're making is your profile, and this is a personal account. It's not for organizations. Sometimes organizations will try to create a profile, but usually this is frowned upon as profiles are more for individuals. And when you make a profile, you can add friends. So this is the way of connecting with people on Facebook, and your friends are the ones who can interact, who can post things, who can share things with you, and who can see what you post. And then you can make a page. So a page is what you would make for an organization or a company or a business. So this is a public way for organizations to connect with people. And what you do here is you get likes. So this is a little bit different than friends because you are still able to interact with people who like your page, but they're really there to show their support to you. So I'll share a little bit of good news. We actually were working on growing the presence of the Self-Advocacy Association of New York State's Facebook page, and so we are now over 500 likes on the page. And as the likes continue to grow, more and more people are able to see the updates that you post and are able to interact with you. And so having a strong presence on Facebook is a really great way to get the word out about your organization. And then, of course, there are what we call groups. Groups are somewhat similar to pages, except for instead of being a friend or liking, it's actually a forum that people can join. And once you're in the group, it can either be public or it can be private or it can be secret, meaning that if it's public, anyone can see what you post. If it's private, that means that you have to request to join first, so people won't be able to see what you post. And if it's secret, that means that no one knows it exists other than the people who are actually invited to be in the group. And a group is a great place for inter-organization discussion and connections, but not ideal when you're looking to engage with a larger public audience. And then there are events, and you can create an event page as a way to invite people to something that's going on. And we will talk about this later in the presentation. So events are great for if you have a self-advocacy meeting coming up, if you have an event, say a holiday party coming up, and you want people to know about it. You can create an event from your organization's page and invite people to it, invite your friends, spread the word. Other people can invite their friends, and it's a really great way to let the public know that you have something going on within your organization. So, as I think I might have mentioned before, Facebook pages can only be created by a person who has a personal profile. So this means that you have to create a Facebook account for yourself before you can create a Facebook page for your organization. And the person who creates the page, they're called an administrator. And I know this might seem a bit complicated, but I'm going to make sure that I show some screenshots later on in the presentation, and it's actually pretty simple. So pages can have multiple administrators or people who are somehow in charge of editing the page. So this means that even if you're the person who created the page, you can assign other people the rights to also be an administrator or perhaps an editor of the page, and this means that they can also help you out with management of the page. But of course, you have to have permission to do so. Not anyone can go in and make updates to the page. So let's backtrack for just a minute because I want to make sure that everyone here knows how to create a Facebook page. So as you can see, I have some screenshots, and you'll see, of course, these are some other pages that I manage, but what you do is you click on Create Page, which you're going to find in the left sidebar of your personal Facebook homepage. And then it will bring you to a screen that looks like the one in front of us, and there are going to be several options. So it could be a business, it could be a celebrity fan page, it could be an organization. So of course you're going to click the company, organization, or institution option, and it's going to bring up a screen that is pretty self-explanatory, where it's going to guide you through entering in some of the details about your organization so that you have some information on the page already as you're getting started, and then you're going to click the button that says Get Started on that page where you're filling in the details. And now I'm going to show you, as I was talking about before, how once you create a page, you can give multiple people control of the page. So here you can see that we actually have a screenshot of the Sanny's Facebook page, and this was from a little while ago. So right now we're at 507 likes, which you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, but at that point we were at 496 and still growing. But now if you look in the top right corner, you'll see there's a little red circle around the word settings. And this is a good thing to know, not just for changing who can have control of the page, but also to know because this is where you're going to go to do things on the back end of the Facebook page, make changes, things like that. So when you click on settings, it's going to bring you to this page, and you'll see so in the left-hand side of the page, there are several options, and again, it's really important to familiarize yourself with all of these particular options. However, I wanted to talk about the basics right now, so I don't want to overwhelm anyone with talking about all the different things you can do with your Facebook page, but managing the basics is pretty simple. So you're going to click on page roles, and you'll see here this is the Sanny's administrators. So we have Bridget, we have Stephen Holmes, we have Jordan, and you'll see my name on the bottom. So I am actually set by Jordan to be an editor of this page and not an administrator, so I wasn't able to show you fully how to do it, but I explained how to do it at the top. So essentially what you're going to do is add people by entering in their name on Facebook or typing in their email address and inviting them to be an administrator or an editor of the page. So you can do this for anyone in your organization or anyone who is in charge of helping out with the page. And it's a great way to divide up the responsibilities of who is keeping the page updated. So now that you know a little bit about how to get your page going, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is how to create a Facebook event. Because once you've made a Facebook page, you're going to want to use it to the fullest, and one of the ways to do this is to spread the word about what's going on in your organization. So I have here some screenshots that will show you how to create an event, and I pulled these actually from a personal page of mine, a blog that I run called Words I Wheel By. So that's just to explain what you're looking at right now. So think of how you might update your status on your personal Facebook page, not your organizational Facebook page, but your profile. So it's relatively similar. You'll see the status box. It'll say status, photo, video, and then it'll say offer or event. So what you want to do is click on offer or event, and you'll be able to set up an event. And by the way, I've had this question before. An offer is if you're running a deal on something, so that's really more for businesses than for organizations. But just so you know what it is that you're clicking, I figured I would explain that. So when you click on offer an event, it's going to bring you to the option where you can create the event. So here you're going to want to make sure that you change the photo for the event. So here's where it's great to have a graphic designer on hand to create a custom image for the event. But if you don't have that, then another alternative is using a photo from the same event held previously, or using maybe a stock image, something that you can find by searching stock images through Google. What you want to do is make sure that you have the rights to use the image publicly and use something that will be eye-catching with not too much text because it can get overwhelming, but something that will really attract people's attention and let them know that there's an event going on. Then of course you're going to add the title, location, date, and time. If there are any organizations who are co-hosting with you, you can add them to be co-hosts right on the event page, and simply click create in the bottom right hand corner, and you've got yourself a Facebook event that you can invite your friends to. So now I want to move on to another really important part of using Facebook pages, which is of course creating posts for your Facebook pages. So here what I did was I pulled something from the Sanny's page, and you can see it's something that I posted about a week or so ago, and it's talking about National Emergency Preparedness Month. So I'll just make sure I read it. Did you know September is National Emergency Preparedness Month? This video featuring people with disabilities from FEMA Federal Emergency Management Agency is an important reminder of why we need to be ready for emergencies. And then I used a hashtag, National Prep, which we will talk about moving forward, the importance of hashtags. And then you can see the image to the left, and you can see the link. So you can simply click that, and you can access that link. You can also see underneath how many people the post had reached at that point. That means how many people saw this Facebook post on their news feed. And then you can see below that a couple of people actually took some time to click like on the post. And this is a picture of an ideal post because it is engaging, it asks a question, it tags another organization, which is something that we will also talk about later, and it uses a hashtag to gain more attention. So moving forward, we will cover all of that. But first, let's talk about how to get that engagement that I was just showing you on Facebook. The first thing that you want to make sure that you are doing is posting relatively frequently. A lot of times people will create Facebook pages for their organizations. They will post once and then sort of leave the Facebook page just sitting for a while. and then they'll post again a month or two later. And certainly it's not that there's anything wrong with this. People get busy. However, social media should really be an integral part of what's going on in your organization because it helps you reach the people that you're trying to serve, first of all. And second of all, it's important because Facebook actually has things going on in the back end that can tell when you're not using the page. And so, in a way, it almost causes more trouble if you post after not having posted for a month or so, because you have to start reboosting all of the engagement that you once had. And so sometimes it's almost like starting from square one. And so that's not something that you want to do because you want to keep a steady flow of information coming on the Facebook page, both so that it helps your organization and so that it helps the people that are involved in your organization. And I think that an ideal posting frequency is once every other day or once per day. And I say I think because if you do some research on this, you'll find that the information varies. However, in my work, I have had the most luck with the posting frequency of every other day or once per day because it keeps your page on people's radar. And now let's talk about some of the content types that you can share, because you might think that one of the things that you share are links to other articles or to things from your organization's website, and that's it. But really, there's so much more out there that you can share. So of course, there are self-advocacy events and news announcements, as I was talking about, but also let's not forget sharing photos and videos. You can share photos from events that you had. You can share photos, little behind the scenes sneak peeks from the office or, meetings that you might have had. You can share those both from your organization and from other sources. You can also share motivational or powerful quotes or graphics with quotes on them. You might see those a lot in your personal Facebook newsfeed, and let me tell you, those are pretty popular, and who doesn't like seeing a little motivation on Facebook when they sign on? I personally know that I enjoy seeing those powerful quotes to give me a little boost throughout the day. You can also ask questions for followers to answer. So perhaps there is a question related to self-advocacy or even what are your plans for the weekend. It might seem basic, it might seem silly, but sometimes it's good to just engage your audience, ask them how they're doing. Of course, you can also share information from self-advocates or community members. So perhaps they submit a question that they have, or a story, or a photo. Share those. It's a really great way to feature the people who are involved in your organization. So now that you know some of the ideal types of content that you can share on Facebook, I want to tell you a little bit about some of the best practices for sharing on Facebook. And this is important because sometimes people will just drop a link and click the share button with no explanation of what it is. And this could be confusing for people to read. This might not attract as much attention. And it's also not necessarily accessible to everyone because some people might need the description perhaps of the image on the screen if they're visually impaired, or perhaps a little bit of an explanation in plain language. Also something that we will talk about moving forward in this presentation. But in terms of the best practices for sharing, what you want to do is keep the text of your post pretty brief and to the point. I've often found that 1 or 2 line updates are great for grabbing attention because, as you know, social media moves quickly and people don't have very big attention spans on social media, and that's okay. So you just cater to them a little bit by keeping it short and sweet. You can use longer posts, but use them sparingly. So if you're quoting an article and you pull a really big quote from it and you think it is a powerful quote that you really want to share along with the link, then it's okay to do a longer post. Or if you have a story that you're sharing on Facebook and it's a little bit longer than the 1 or 2 lines that I suggest, again, that's okay. But make sure that you're changing up the length of your post so that it doesn't look like a giant novel is happening on your Facebook page. You want it to be easy to read. Of course, you should avoid posting a link without text to explain it. So as I said before, don't simply drop a link and hit share. Take a moment to say what it is. So in the post example that I showed before, I shared a video related to National Emergency Preparedness Month, but you might not know what that was if you just saw the link. So I took a moment to write a post accompanying it to explain what the link actually contained so people would know what they're clicking on. Not only should you be asking questions, but you should be encouraging conversation. Even if the question is simple or if it's something to the effect of what would you have done in this situation if you're sharing an article about something that happened. You just want to get people going. And that's a great way to encourage self-advocacy too, because Facebook is a great platform for people to speak up for themselves and share what they would do in a certain situation. Of course, you want to include relevant hashtags. So as you might recall on the post that I showed you earlier for the emergency management video, there was a little hashtag at the end, and it was National Prep. And that was the common hashtag that was being used for that particular month, so National Preparedness Month. So people could click on that hashtag, and then they would be able to find our post as well as other posts on the topic. But I will make sure that I get more in depth on that, a bit more into the presentation. And another thing that I recommend occasionally doing is including calls to action. So that essentially means that you're asking somebody to do something after they've seen your post. So they see your post and then they might think, okay, what now? So you can say, please click to read this, or please share this post with your friends. And it's just a little extra nudge for people so that they know what you're hoping to accomplish with the post. The next thing that is important is getting page likes. So we talked about this earlier. These are the people who are following along with what's going on the page, and growing that number is a great way to increase the engagement on your page. So the first thing you can do is sharing links directly from posts that you've seen on Facebook. And you can ensure that the people and pages are properly tagged in those posts. So I'm going to show you how to do both of those things. Of course, you also want to respond to all comments. So if someone leaves a comment on a link that you shared, respond to it. Even just thank them for taking the time to stop by. Include a link to your Facebook page in your organizational email updates. So if you send out a monthly newsletter about what's going on with your self-advocacy organization, then you're going to want to make sure that you are including a link to the Facebook page so people reading the email know to access the Facebook page, to like it, to keep an eye on it. And here I realized that I wrote Sanny's, but of course this applies to all self-advocacy organizations. When you are having a self-advocacy event, take a moment to say, hey everyone, have you liked us on Facebook yet? And then of course, you can post content that is relevant to themes for different months. So we talked about Emergency Preparedness Month, and coming up in October, it's National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So when you post around a theme, you're likely to get more likes in that month because people are looking for things specifically related to that theme. So as I mentioned earlier in the slide before this, one thing you can do is share directly from other pages or sources. And this is a great way to get the attention of other pages, to show people that you are engaged with what's going on and that it's not just a one-way street on Facebook, but that you are interactive and out there on Facebook. So what you're going to do, and I took an example from disability.gov, which is a pretty big common page. So if you want to share something that they posted, you're going to click on the bottom of the post. You'll see where it says share. So you're going to click that, and then a little drop-down menu will come up, and you're going to click share again. So it's a little bit repetitive, but make sure that you click share and not share now, because if you click share now, it's going to share to your personal Facebook profile, but we want it to share to our organizational Facebook page. Then once you click share, it will come up with this box, and you're going to click where I have the red circle around it that says on your own timeline. You're going to click that, and another drop down menu will appear. But you'll see I wrote type something here. So make sure that you add something in that little text box and update to accompany what it is that you're sharing. So on this page, you see that we have the little drop-down menu, and this is of course assuming that you have administrative rights to the page that you want to share to. So if you are someone who is in charge of your organization's Facebook page, then this is how you're able to do this. So you'll click on a page you manage, and then another screen will come up, and you'll see here that I manage the Self-Advocacy Association of New York State page. So make sure that it says that's who you're posting as. You'll see that in the top right. And then once you've typed in your update, look down at the bottom right-hand corner and click Share Link, and it will share the link from another source to your page instantly. So this is a really great way to share resources that you find that you like and you think would be relevant to your organization's Facebook page very simply and quickly. The next thing that I want to share with you is how to tag other pages. And this is important because it directly alerts the other page that you are tagging them. And that way they might stop by to your organization's Facebook page and somehow either return the favor or also click like. And it's just a really great way to interact with other organizations who are relevant to yours. So here you can see that I have a status box. I am on, again, the Sanny's Facebook page, and I decided that I wanted to tag the Developmental Disabilities Institute. So I typed the @ symbol, and then I started typing Developmental Disabilities Institute. You'll see a drop-down menu should come up, and Developmental Disabilities Institute was the first option. So you click on that, and then that means that the page will have been tagged, and when you share that status update, the Developmental Disabilities Institute page in this case will be notified that you shared an update about them. Now, something that a lot of people ask me, and something that I did mention earlier in the presentation, hashtags. So what is a hashtag? It's not complicated at all, actually. It's just a word or phrase that is preceded by the hash or the pound sign. So it's probably the pound sign to people who used to use it to dial a number on the phone. But to, younger generations, it's just called a hashtag. And it identifies to Facebook that you're talking about a certain subject. So hashtags are clickable and searchable. This means when you use a hashtag, you can click on that hashtag and you can find other posts that used the same hashtag, and that means likely that they will be about the same topic that you were posting on. They're also searchable. So there's a search bar at the top of your Facebook account page. You can simply type in the hashtag, search for it, and you'll find posts that use that hashtag. Hashtags are used for gaining traction and attention for posts. So if there's a particularly popular hashtag and you use it in one of your posts, of course, assuming that it's relevant to your post and you're not just dropping random hashtags in there to gain attention, then it's a really great way to get some new eyes on the post that might not have seen it otherwise. But of course, there are some rules for hashtags. So do not hashtag like this. So if I was talking like that and I left absolutely no space in between my words, that would be pretty confusing. So you can see here I have a hashtag and then it says do not hashtag like this with no spaces. But of course, do not hashtag like this either, meaning don't put a hashtag in front of every single word because it causes people to have trouble reading your post smoothly. So use hashtags wisely. and don't hashtag random words in your posts. Now, I'm going to give you a quick example of a popular hashtag, and that's hashtag ADA25. And this was a hashtag that was being used around the 25th anniversary of the ADA. So it really gained popularity starting in July of this year. And it was a way for advocates and disability organizations and people from around the United States to share things leading up to and in celebration of the 25th anniversary of the ADA. So it's a really great community building tool as well. And now I want to switch gears a little bit to talk about social media accessibility. And this is so important because the organizations that we're talking about specifically for this presentation serve people with disabilities. And that means that people may be visually impaired or blind, they may be hearing impaired or deaf, however they choose to identify themselves. But the point is that we need to make social media accessible to people of all abilities. So one thing you can do is always including text descriptions of the images that you post. So think about some questions that you can ask yourself. What would you tell someone if you were describing the image to them? What is the image of? Who's in the image? Are there particularly notable colors in the image? And of course, what does the text on the image say? If you share an image that is very text heavy, make sure that you take the time to let people know what the image actually says. Then, of course, you'll want to make sure that you find captioned content or include captions if it's content that you are sharing, that you created. So if it's a video, perhaps, that your organization created, take the time to add the captions or to include a transcript so that everyone can understand what's being said in the video. It's a little bit more difficult to find captioned audio content, but it can be done. And if you can't find it, I highly recommend including a transcript. Another thing is to consider using what are called trigger warnings on content with difficult subject matter. So for example, if you share something about sheltered workshops on your self-advocacy page, and this could be a particularly difficult topic for some people, just put a little content warning at the top or even type trigger warning and simply say, this post contains information about sheltered workshops. And that's just a way to let people know what you're posting, and then they can choose if they want to click or not and read more of the post. And then, of course, use plain language. Try not to use a lot of heavy jargon. And I think this is something that self-advocacy organizations or any disability-related organizations usually tend to be pretty good about. But again, keep your post simple. Now, moving on a little bit, once we have some of our best practices in mind in terms of sharing and in terms of accessibility, you're probably wondering, how can I keep up with constantly updating my page and sharing information on my page? So I'm going to tell you how to schedule posts on a Facebook page. Everyone should be pretty familiar at this point with regular sharing of a post on the page, and that's sharing instantly. But you can also create a schedule. So if you're not on the Facebook page constantly that you are in charge of, you can create a backlog of posts that will go up when you set them up. And that way you don't have to be in front of your page every single day keeping up with that schedule that I suggested to keep your page active. And this is really, really helpful because you can set aside one afternoon to do some searching and to find some links and put them together and schedule them. Or alternatively, you can schedule out links as people share them with you. If someone sends you an email and says, hey, this is great for social media, but you just posted something 20 minutes ago and you don't want to post something else, just schedule it and you can post it the next day. So first thing you're going to want to do, and again, I have an example here on the Self-Advocacy Association of New York State page, is to set up the post as you would if you were about to share it instantly. Then, once you have the post all set up, you'll see I have a little link here. I just shared the SANY's website as an example, and it says, check out the SANY's website for the latest news and updates. And then in the bottom right corner of the screen where you're sharing the status update, there's a little triangle, a downward facing triangle, next to the word published. Usually you would click published and that would set it up instantly. However, you're going to click the triangle next to the word published instead, and then a menu will appear and you're going to click schedule. So then a little menu is going to pop up where you can pick the date and time that you want to share your post. So in this particular example, I decided that I wanted to share the post on September 20th at 8:15 p.m. And then you're going to click schedule at the bottom and you have a scheduled post. Now, when you go back to your Facebook page, you will see at the top, and I have it circled here in red, that you have a post scheduled. If you click See Post, it'll bring you to a page where you can see the schedule of posts. So here I only have one post scheduled. However, you can schedule as many posts as you want for different times, and then this page that you're looking at right now will fill up with the whole schedule, and you'll be able to see it at a glance right in front of you, and you'll know what post is going up at what time on what day. So I want to leave you with the message that using Facebook is going to help your self-advocacy organization thrive. And I've given you a lot of tips and tricks on how to keep your social media schedule full, how to keep it accessible, how to update your page, and how to really engage with the audience that you serve. So please keep in mind the importance of Facebook as you're moving forward and use it to its full potential. And you'll really find that it's a great way to help your organization gain a stronger presence, gain more active community members, and most importantly, it's a great platform for self-advocates. So that concludes the presentation, and I'm not sure if there's time for any questions, but I will put that out there if it is possible.
I think we have a couple minutes, and I have a couple questions for you, Emily.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
When talking about Facebook pages, an organizational page, if you've created a page for an organization, for your organization, but then you are moving on and you want to pass the management of that over to other people. If you've made other people administrators of the page, can you as a creator, do you know if you as a creator can take yourself out of the page as an administrator?
Yes, you can. You can remove yourself from that position if you are the administrator. Anyone who is an administrator can assign other people permissions to be behind the page, or they can remove people, including themselves, from the page.
Great. Then the other question I have, and I know we didn't really talk about this as part of the thing, but I have an iPhone, and I often at events, I take pictures, and I would like to be able to post those pictures on our page, our organizational page, or our group page. But from my iPhone, it seems that I can only just share it with friends or post it in my profile. Do you know about that aspect, or if there's another way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is actually a Facebook Pages app,
Okay,
and you can download that app, and that will allow you to access the page directly from the phone. And you can share photos, you can publish updates, you can share videos. I actually pulled up in front of me right now the Sanny's page on my phone, and it looks very similar to the main page that you would see if you were looking at it in an internet browser, but it's just a little bit more streamlined. And you can share your photos or updates directly on the go from your phone. So it's just really that it's a separate app, still a Facebook app. It's made by Facebook. It is Facebook, but it's the Pages management app instead of the actual plain Facebook app.
great. Oh, that's pretty cool. Do you know if it's the same for groups or
So
no?
groups you can actually do right from your main Facebook. So if you were to access a group on your phone and you wanted to post to it or do a little bit of administrative work behind the scenes, you can do that right from the main Facebook app. There's not a separate app for that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Cool. Thank you. Those were my questions.
Oh, great. Are there any other questions that I can possibly answer? It looks like that might be it then. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity to share things about Facebook with you and for the NEAT project. And I know that it is quite a bit of information to take in, but these were just some of the basics to really get you going and to help your self advocacy organization really thrive on Facebook.